one of the lessons I learned was convenience is one of the most important things in this industry.
Hey, Pat and Doug here with another episode of the Wealthy Fitness Entrepreneur. And we're going to change it up a little bit today. And I'm going to interview Doug and ask him about some of the things that served as maybe springboard point in his business, the levers or the big dominoes that really moved him forward. Because I think that I know personally, I spend a lot of time talking about consistency and perseverance and the compound effect of just doing a lot of the right things month after month. But let's face it, if you do a lot of the right things month after month, sometimes opportunities come along. Sometimes you notice things, or there are moments that instead of just consistently hitting singles, you hit a double, you hit a home run. So I want to ask Doug what some of those are. So let's look back just during your entire time as a business owner, really, what maybe the first one or one of the early kind of levers or turning points or springboard moments you had in your business?
Yeah, I would say so when we first started in 2012, I was largely serving the youth athlete because I was 21 years old and that's who I connected with. And I thought that I could build a sports performance business, and we did okay. But we quickly realized in our town, 12,000 people, there's not that many that play sports, and frankly, not that many that are competitive in sports. And so it was not a sustainable client avatar. And we spent a lot of time on who do I enjoy working with? Another one I want to talk about is model, but the really spending a time going deep, like extra thought into who I want to serve as an ideal client. I think in the beginning, it's a lot of like, I'm going to help everybody. But I think honestly, a massive springboard was only working with the population that we worked with and getting clear in our messaging, in our offers, in our pain points. That I think gone are the days where you could say like, I work with women over 40, or I work with like, that's too broad, right? Like that's not specific enough in the competitive landscape we're in. And so one of the things that we spend a ton of time on is after about 3 years, we realized, okay, the sports performance world is, yeah, we'll still work with them if they come in. It's not who we're going to focus on, and started broad. But if I look back over the 12 years, every year we got more narrow and narrow with the avatar that we wanted to work with and got after and marketed towards and built our model around it, built our facility design around it. Everything was built off of that single client avatar. And I think we talk about that as an industry, but we don't go to any depth about it.
I think that I assumed that was going to be the first one. So what's next? What was the next big kind of springboard moment for you?
It's key for me to mention this one, which is a really good number two, a really good hire that can be potentially more than just your clock in, clock out person. I was fortunate enough that when our first location before I bought our building was maybe 10-minute commute from the university I graduated from. And as a 21-year-old opening a gym, I was still connected with like the freshmen, sophomores at the university because I went to a small university. And so when they heard I was opening up a gym, like the amount of interns that I had an instant internship program. And I was fortunate that one of them was Josh, who forecast out 12 years later, bought the gym from me. But he was from day one, an unpaid intern, then a, poorly paid illegal employee to a very dedicated, loyal manager, and eventually had the opportunity to buy the building. So some of that is luck, but some of that is also in like how I treated him and the opportunities that I carved out for him, and really thinking of that like number. It doesn't even have to be number two, but just that employee that like, you can't do this by yourself. And there's got to be that key hire that is like, this is going to be my right hand. And sometimes that's a formal partnership. But for me, it was more, I'm going to groom him to eventually take this over. I think that was a massive springboard for sure.
Man, so figuring out who you serve, surrounding yourself with a good team member. And I can't overstate the importance of that second one enough because I think the minute you do that, you've acknowledged that this is a team event. This is a team sport. You're going to be better if you don't go it alone. You're going to be your path to success usually involves more than just you.
And I think one more thing I thought of that I would feel important to mention is when you find somebody, like it's like dating, right? It's going to take you some time to find somebody, but when you do find somebody, really get to know them as far as how they are motivated. And we often feel like as an industry that we need to pay people more, and that is the only way to motivate them. But if I look back at the best team members I had, which in order to be successful in this industry, you have to have good team members. The team members that just wanted to clock in and clock out were the worst team members. It's the team members that I communicated the vision and they connected. And that's okay. The people that wanted to clock in and clock out were never connected with the vision and they eventually moved on. And they're not bad people. They're just not aligned with where we were going. For example, I went through some team members that were a part of the team early on when we were sports performance focused and more youth focused. And then we made the hard shift and they're like, this is boring. I don't want to work with these people. And that's okay. Right. But understanding who is the ideal team member and treating them in a way that it's often not compensation. It's understanding what they value. For example, one of my best team members I ever had, he was with me 8 years. I hired him and he said, I'll never forget this. He said, Doug, I don't care how much I make. Just don't make me work on Sundays. Because he was a man of faith. He's a big Sunday guy and big family guy. And he's like, don't make me work on Sundays and I'll be happy as a clam. And that dude got paid $23 an hour and he was one of the best coaches in the world, right? Josh was one where, yeah, of course, his pay increased over time, but he valued experiences more than money. But I noticed that he was very frugal with his experiences. So, for example, when he got married, he actually met his wife at the gym and she was a client and he like awkwardly asked me, hey, this girl's been hitting me up. Like, do you mind if I go on a date with her? And she was a client. And back then I had no systems or policies or anything. So I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. But anyways, when they ended up getting married, he had this vision of like this grand honeymoon in France. That's where they wanted to go. But he's like, he's frugal, cheap guy. Like, I'm not gonna go there. So I was like, hey, how about this? Instead of a raise this year, I'll pay for your, I don't know, $5,000-$10,000 honeymoon, right? And so little things like that, that's not little in the grand scheme, but like little things of understanding that giving Josh a $10,000 raise was not what made him happy that year. What made him happy was the honeymoon that he will forever remember. So things like that, and you can bring that down to a smaller scale, like not making them work on Sundays if that's what they value, right? So yeah, key team members.
Yeah, I know that I took a similar approach with Matt Sizemore with a few different experiential things that I think were great. And to be honest, I think it got more buy-in from family too, right? Because now they were, had a vested interest in his professional success here. So that was pretty cool. All right, we've got choosing your avatar or evolving your avatar. We got hiring a key team member. What's next?
So I think we should talk about the springboard that happened in 2015. So in 2015, I was 3 years into business. And for numbers perspective, we probably had maybe 150 clients or so. And decent size. I think I had 2 or 3 team members, probably in that, maybe 30 or 40 grand a month range. So good size, but from 2015 to 2017, we went from there to like 300 and felt like overnight. And I think back to what happened in that springboard. And part of it was at the same time we were nailing down our model, right? And really defining the client avatar and switching to the avatar that we switched to. We had a couple key hires like Josh, et cetera. But I think I can't look past location does matter. Location, if you're running a brick and mortar, it does matter. And so we went from this where a lot of us I started in this grungy warehouse that nobody else wanted to rent, that was behind a corner and had no windows and was cheap rent. And there was high ceiling warehouse space, which worked really well. And we moved to, frankly, the interior was no better, but we moved to a location, same town, in a location where I didn't even realize this at the time, how impactful it was. So two variables that looking back, I didn't think about, which was proximity of the highway. For us in Maine, like you can't, in order to get to your job, you have to go on the highway, and there's only one exit and entrance to the highway, and it's right across from where the building is. So everybody commuting to and from work was getting off the highway and staring at our location. And so visibility of that, and frankly, I think more importantly, convenience of that I could right after work be right there. And also the school systems, all these schools, middle school, high school, et cetera, are all on that side of town, as opposed to where we were, which was where more the businesses are, like the more commercial. But everybody lived and all the schools were on this side of town. And so paying attention to, I think, I didn't know that at the time, for clarity. I'm not saying I knew that and I picked that location because of that, but I think if you're able to, maybe when you are expanding space, or if you're in a position where you're looking for new space, one of the lessons I learned was convenience is one of the most important things in this industry. And if I can be in an area where, like, for context, I was it's still an industrial park, so it's not like I had Class A real estate. I was in a relatively, like, I would consider it was like a metal building. It wasn't like it was this big luxury space, but the convenience and the location of, parents would always say, I drop my kid off at school and I can be right at the gym because I drive past it. So I almost feel bad not going to the gym if I drop my kid off and pass the gym, or I get off the highway from work and I'm right there. And again, I'm staring at the gym, and I could go straight into the gym or I could turn left and go home. And there's that convenience factor that I think, again, is it a luxury? Sure. But you can do some homework and some strategy and some thinking about your location and pick a spot that's convenient for your clients to get to.
Yeah, having been to your facility there, when you're standing right off the highway, it's no joke, right? Like, it is right there. And convenience, I think convenience matters more than ever. I think that people, like, we just think about how people operate in general now. They want it now. They want things delivered to them. They want things fast. So the convenience factor, I'm sure, is huge. All right. Well, we've got 3. Let's at least cover 1 or 2 more. What's the next big domino for you?
I would say similar to the Avatar, but slightly different, is doubling down on one model. And as a new business owner, I know I tried everything, right? We had large group classes on the schedule. We had this thing that was small group, semi-private. We did some one-on-ones during the quiet hours, and we randomly offered sessions of all different session types. And if you marry your avatar to your model and say, I'm by no means recommending that one particular model is better. I think it's important that we matched, okay, this avatar that we want to work with does best in this type of model, right? And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of avatars that if you choose to work with that avatar, they're better for an in-home model. They're better for a one-on-one model. They're better for a large group model. But we found an avatar that really thrived and really was attracted to that small group model. We didn't try to put a square peg into a round hole and try to take an avatar that, like in that transition period, we dealt with a lot of flack, which was we had these large group people. And I say that in the sense of their personality. It was very extroverted. They liked the loud music. They liked the fast paced. And we would be hearing feedback like, oh, it's too slow. It's not upbeat enough. But yet I looked at every new person coming in was like, this is amazing. I love the attention I'm getting. I love the personal setting. And, then you start to make business decisions and which one are you going to double down on? Because in reality, what happens, I think, is business owners stay doing both. And so they become mediocre at both, and they have people that are pissed at each other. The small group client is pissed because it's loud in the gym and it's crowded and it's packed. And the large group person is like, oh, it's boring and it's not fast paced enough. And so I'm not saying you can't serve both, but one of the springboards for me was we completely doubled down on small group personal training. And I'm not saying the springboard was small group personal training. I think it was doubling down on one. And everything revolves around that, meaning you have an avatar that fits well in that. You have team members. Speaking of key hires, we lost team members that liked the large group class like that. They were more the put the mic on and be loud and have fun. And the small group was not fast paced enough for them. And so they left eventually. But, you backfill that with people that really thrive in the small group model. And so marrying all that together to become in your kind of 3-mile radius, 5-mile radius, the best at that thing, I think was a massive springboard for us.
All right. We've got avatar, hire, location, model. Let's figure one. I'm sure there are 4 or 5 other ones, but let's choose one other. Give me one other springboard, one other big domino that made a big difference for you.
I think I have to end with the reason why, one of the reasons why I sold the gym and one of the reasons why I could sell the gym, which was the financial piece of how I treated it and made that shift. And the springboard was in like 2016, 2017. If you go back to where I talked about moving locations and having that really big growth, well, I went from 150 to 300 clients in a matter of 12 months, 18 months. But I personally did not make any more money in that stretch. And that was I say a springboard because it was a big eye opener. I remember that stage of business where, I had a little bit more free time, but at that point I was just starting to get things organized. And so it was still chaotic. And so the springboard was like, holy crap, we got to get our finances in order. Because I've always been an organized person. So I felt organized from a like tracking perspective, but I was tracking that I was not making any more money. And I was like, wow, this is not good. I think that the springboard was really doubling down on the profit first model, really doubling down on getting your payroll structure right so that you're not overpaying in payroll and allowing you to price right was another thing. We did a big price adjustment to kind of price right. All those variables, really the core of it was we had to get to a healthier profit margin so that I could then pull that money out and reinvest it out elsewhere. Yeah, definitely the finances in order around 2017 or so was a big springboard.
Very cool. Well, it has been fun to ask you this and hear you share and do a little deeper dive on it, because I think that so many owners, they probably see the highlight reel. It's hey, Doug has this big portfolio of short-term rentals, and he owned the building and had 300 plus clients and this, that, and the other. And they don't know a whole lot about the journey. And then it wasn't this just completely linear thing, right? And most aren't, right? Most journeys aren't, but the nature of the world that we operate in now, you see a lot of the highlight reel, but you don't know the backstory. And I think the backstory offers a lot of insight as to how you grew, how you improved. Yeah, there were some things that may not have just been hearing somebody say, well, we doubled the number of clients we had, but I didn't make any more money. That's a big, right? Like, no, I appreciate you sharing that. I think that it's fun for me to hear because I've got to see this from really back in that 2014-ish range and forward. And I think it's really good for the people listening in. So appreciate it.
For sure. It was fun.
All right. Well, guys, that's another episode of the Wealthy Fitness Entrepreneur in the books. If you have anything that you would like us to cover, anything you'd like us to do a deeper dive on, just shoot us a message, let us know, and we'll cover it. And we'll be back with another episode real soon. See ya.